Welcome, I'm the Deadwoodjedi. This is a Watcher Realms video today. We're taking a little break from the usual content, talk about a new game, new experience, Watcher of Realms. And I have on with me the one, the only, Mr. Veiled. I don't know that I've had you on the channel before, but I just want to say thank you so much for coming on. Basically, guys, what's going to happen today is we're going to go over Watcher of Realms. It's a new mobile RPG it's like a next-gen fantasy battler here. It's a lot of fun, and it is a very new experience in this kind of genre because it's a tower defense styled game where most of these, RPG games are more adventure style. This is tower defense, which I think is a very fun style of gameplay. Something I actually enjoy myself quite a lot. And I've been playing it quite a bit, but I figured to walk us through this game to get a good and better understanding of how it plays, I'd bring on Veiled, who's got a wonderful YouTube channel about this. And is obviously very knowledgeable about the game, and also just one of my favorite content creators out there. I thought I'd bring him on to help walk us through the game so we can get a better understanding of how it plays. If you guys are interested in playing the game, obviously there are download links in the pinned comment description of this video, so make sure go check that out. If you enjoy listening to Veiled like I do, make sure to click his link I'll have down there as well so you can subscribe to his channel. Definitely recommend that. But yeah, so real quick, Watcher Realms. Like I said, it's a new kind of experience game. It's next-gen fantasy RPG. It's got great graphics. It's easy gameplay, real easy as a new player to kind of jump in, level up your champions. It's a very fun system for that, actually, real simple and easy to do. And there's a lot of gameplay options as well. Did I miss anything in that little intro there, Veiled, or we pretty good off to a good start?
There's, 1,000 words a minute. That was awesome, I think. Got it all.
Well, perfect. Well, hey, again, thank you for coming on, man. I figured, one of the things we want to talk about is let's start with the champions like you have spinning there. I figure we can kind of go into, I think one of the things that first attracted me to this game is obviously the graphics are amazing. One of the things people I think they do a great job is they have like little videos especially for some of the legendary champions, kind of like little showcase videos that are always fun to get into. But maybe you can walk us through a little bit, not just the art design for the champions, but like, the skills that are used, the gear that they, have. They have a very fun confluence of abilities like factions and factions. I don't know, like all the different groupings that are in there, but I know they intertwine in a really interesting way. Maybe you can kind of go through that as well.
Yeah, so I'll start off with my personal favorite character who I've got in the background right now. Of course, you do have to go with the spinning. I mean, who doesn't?
Yeah.
You got to spin your characters. But Silas here, I just love what he's got going on, because what you're going to find is some certain passive skills that synergize with specific duos and specific other characters. So you'll find that quite frequently throughout the game. But as you're saying, there's a lot of very unique ways that the factions intertwine. It's not just, you take your factions and you use them for whatever faction mode. You have these characters called lords. And here's one, my only legendary lord. The King Hars here has a lord skill where he's going to buff up all the people under him that have the same faction tag. So he gets a bunch of bonuses, and so do everyone else. So one of the big things is actually creating faction-based team comps to benefit from those lords, not just because of factions, but throughout the whole game. So you'll find that that's a pretty important way to go about things. And
kind of the leader of the team, right? Just taking everybody under his wing.
Yeah, almost like a leader ability, like a leader skill that you might find, but just innately built into the character's kit. And because, as you said, there's a tower defense side of this game, well, you're going to find that you can actually use two separate leaders. So kind of leading a team of 5. So they group together as 5, as you can see here. So we have this guy who's leading and her who's leading right now. And I could change those up with other different leader abilities at any time.
That's awesome. Well, that sounds like it's something that isn't just, that as a new player, obviously, you got to get lucky and get your hero and your leader. But once you do, you have a faction to build around. It kind of gives you some focus. But also, it sounds like as you get further along in the game and become more end game, it gives you a lot more variety because you need there's multiple teams to build, multiple factions to kind of focus around and find different synergies that work really nicely together.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And the probably biggest part to that whole synergy component is trying to not only match the characters to their respective factions, but also matching their roles, right? So normally you have your supports, your healers, your DPS, but in this game you have ground and platform characters, right?
Right.
So people that can be placed on the platforms and the ground, which completely change the aspect of the game because it's totally different from your standard. Okay, use your ability. You got to place them like
Yeah.
it's a completely different beast.
Well, it's just one more level of complexity, and I think one of the things that I always talk about on my channel is, it is about complexity. It's about those options and the variability to choose and select your heroes and how they work. That makes it really fun and exciting, because now all of a sudden you got decisions to make, right? You got some strategy to get into, and that's really the fun part about these games, right? They call them strategy RPGs for a reason.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And there's a lot to do with this game for sure. In just kind of figure out, okay, do I want 3 platform, 3 ground, and all the other things that go along with it? Of course,
yeah,
we could talk forever about all the different strategy components into the game. I mean, you know how this works.
I do. Well, I mean, that's really awesome. So it's not just about the factions, though, right? I mean, there's other synergies that are going in here as well. I know there's different roles that each champion has, not just like roles as far as like who do I bring in, like how do I choose them, but literal roles within the game, structure wise, of these champions, right?
Yeah, and one of the biggest things, more so than the classes, which, as you say, you do have the certain classes, so you can look at various different characters. They have like a mage symbol, or you can see on like little corners of the portraits, like the fighters, the marksmen. But even further than that, they actually have damage types. So if you actually go into certain characters and you look through like their attributes or kind of what you're looking for, you'll find that certain marksmen are going to be physical damage dealing marksmen, and in some cases they can maybe do a little bit of magic damage, and that matters because each of the characters, they either have high magic resist or high armor, so that's a whole nother dynamic on top of the classes.
Right. Well, I mean, that's actually kind of sounds like a lot and sounds a little bit complex. Is it that hard to get into when you're first starting out, or is it does that kind of knowledge come over time in a fairly digestible manner?
So I think one of the biggest things when you're starting out is it takes a little bit of time to get used to the platforming and all that. But once you get a hang of it, I think it's extremely intuitive. And one of the best things about this game actually is, and this is something that they've actually done even more recently, is they give you a lot of really, really nice characters to start out with, as long as you're just kind of playing the game. It's pretty free to play friendly in that aspect, while also being new player friendly, because you'll get access to a guaranteed lord, for example, who's going to kind of give you that initial boost for your account, or they put you on the storyline, which is an easy way to get a guaranteed legendary. You kind of just follow the steps that they're guiding you through, and it's very much like do this, do that, and then you'll get through most of the early game processes. And as you get deeper into the game, that's when you start to be like, okay, well, I know this guy is really good for dealing magic damage, so I'm going to use him. That's when you start to min max. But in terms of early game, you don't have to do specific things like that. It's all about when you start to try to beat like end game content when that comes in.
That's awesome. Well, actually, that's perfect. Why don't we? That I think leads us perfectly into not only the current event, but like some of the different areas of the game that you can do. This is a perfect time that we're doing this collaboration, right? That we're doing this promotion here for Watcher of Realms, and one of the big reasons that they have a Christmas event coming on very shortly, where you're going to have the opportunity to get yourself a free legendary Mari, and that should be a really nice boon for any account that's just starting. It's a good time to start. You can get a unique skin for as well. Obviously, for the Christmas event, there's going to be some fun decorations in the campfire area, like the kind of home area of the game. And they're also adding a new boss, like a boss rush. which is like a new I don't know if you call it a global event type of thing, but a large scale boss that everybody can participate in and take down. And of course, that leads me to, something you had alluded to, some of the end game content, the bigger bosses and stuff like that. Maybe you can show us around and talk a little bit about the different kinds of dungeons, bosses. I know in this game, there's obviously some dungeons where you can get level up materials. There's some dungeons where you can get experience, just not rank up materials, I guess you'd call it, right? As well as some like sort of alliance bosses or global bosses and stuff like that.
Yeah, the game is basically broken down into, I would say, 3 different distinct modes. With some, as you get to the more end game, you're going to find that you have the resource raids, which are the ways you kind of get those 6 stars that you're looking for, because you're going to get a lot of XP. And that's oftentimes the biggest bottleneck, not necessarily getting like the actual fodder characters. You're going to have the gear raids, which these are your dungeons. These are your gear dungeons. These are the ones you're going to be farming 99% of the time when you get farther and farther into the game. Sure. This is where the big money makers are. And a lot of these have some extremely unique mechanics, especially like a gear raid 2 here, where you're going to find, if I just go ahead and dive into a gear raid 2 here, you'll see like some crazy strategy where you have to beat, as you say, one of the stronger bosses in the game, but being able to do some crazy things with some of the platforming. You also have, gear raid 1 and 3, which have different strategies, or things like the guild boss, which is going to be kind of one of the biggest goals in the game to kind of amp up your shard income. And, well, right. You even have the Void Rift, which is a little bit more end game, but is going to be kind of like almost like a roguelike game mode where you're like traveling through, beating all these different fights, but you're not necessarily getting stronger throughout. You just have to kind of continue while the enemies get stronger. You remain the same strength. You just got to see how far you can get, which ends up being pretty cool. So definitely a lot of things to do. And with that new boss rush game mode, I'm excited to see perhaps some more strategic options, maybe akin to the gear raids, but we'll definitely see. And each one of these gear raids and slash raids in general kind of have a theme to them. So like one of them, you're going to want marksmen, or one of them, you're going to kind of want mages or whatnot. And each one kind of has their own style. So there's kind of options for every person on your roster, while also kind of tackling down some of these bigger bosses.
Sounds very fun, actually. Definitely, that sounds good. So, like, obviously, there's a bunch of different areas of the game that you can participate in, a bunch of different bosses and stuff and styles going on in there. So, I know the game doesn't just have, obviously, dungeons, bosses. There's PvP as well, right? It's a different style of PvP than I think we're used to typically, because you're not fighting directly against somebody, but more it's like almost like a time rush against a computer enemy. Is that about right?
Yeah, and look at these victories right here. I'm definitely getting my ego up here. Let's dive into the battle. Check this out, because it's definitely a lot more different, because it's not just I have to beat the opponent's team. It's more of, okay, do I want to like sit back and set up and try to like maybe sandbag the first few waves to make myself weaker in order to be stronger for the later waves, while the opponents, maybe try to clear out the first couple of waves sooner? Or do I want to like powerhouse my way through the early waves and try to get an early advantage in terms of health? Because you'll find that these waves come in, they try to hit your base, and if your base dies before the enemy's base, then you'll lose. But sometimes you could do all sorts of different things in order to kind of win. Or, as you can see, I'm we're taking a little bit of a hit here, but that is all part of the plan, I promise. So there's all sorts of different strategies that you could do with this.
Well, I like that, right? Like sometimes a slow start can lead to a stronger finish, or vice versa. So that kind of makes some sense. It's an interesting, approach to it, obviously, right? You have to kind of ration your resources to make sure it works the right way for you. And obviously, like you said before, choose the right characters. Some of them are going to be on the platform, some are going to be on the ground, and you gotta deal with what you can. I think it's there's just so many different ways to play this game. And obviously, one other thing you guys should know about, if you want to support Veiled Shot, or you want to support me or somebody else, there is a PK event activity going on right now where you can support one of your content creators. Basically, they've split us up into 2 teams, and we're all going to be kind of competing. And so you guys can support one side or the other. So it's a fun way to kind of get involved. I mean, this is obviously this is a fun game with a lot to do. And, it is this kind of new experience in the mobile RPG genre. And I think that, it fills a unique niche within that. It's unlike other games of this ilk that I've played because of the tower defense mechanic, because a lot of the other mechanics that are going on here. And I love the interaction between, the different elements, the different classes, and the different factions. I think is a real fun kind of combination that adds a lot of strategy to it. Do you have any final thoughts about the game that you want to share with anybody?
No, but I'm a little embarrassed because as we said, I misplaced my character and I lost the battle. So just cut that. Just cut it. I promise.
I'll cut it out. Don't worry. Yeah, nobody will know. It's fine. We'll use a better footage behind that. Don't worry about it. Yeah.
So, yeah. Just don't misplace your characters. You'll learn.
There you go.
If you try this game, that's.
Friggin' perfect. I love it. Well, look, guys, I just want to say thank you guys for watching so much. Obviously, Watch Your Realms. It's a new experience, a new mobile RPG. It is available on PC as well as iOS and Android. So it's a fun experience. I think, as we saw, there's a lot to do and it can be really enjoyable. So I definitely recommend you guys download it. It is in the pinned comment and description of this video. Big thanks to Veiled Shot for coming on. So make sure to check out his channel and subscribe to him as well. That Christmas event is going on. Get that free legendary Mari. I think that's going to be a really big boost to your account, and you should be able to get that. There's some unique skins involved. There's obviously that boss rush coming through as well. So it should be a lot of fun. And then you can pick Veiled Shot for that PK activity there and support my boy in his endeavors to get better at this game. So yeah, make sure to check that out, guys. It's a very fun game, great graphics, good gameplay, and so I recommend downloading. Thank you so much, Veil, for coming on, guys. Till next we meet, the Deadwood Jedi.